Dr. Chen, a physical therapist specializing in spinal health, said the majority of her patients with chronic non-specific low back pain show the same pattern on assessment. Posterior tilt as a default seated position with resulting hip flexor tightness and glute inhibition. 3 additions that compound the correction. 1. Stand for 5 minutes every 45 minutes, a timer on your phone. 2. Active sitting on a balanced disc or forward tilted seat wedge turns your core muscles on passively while you work. 3. 90 seconds of hip flexor stretching at the end of the workday.
Tom set a 45-minute standing timer on his first day. He said the hardest part was the first week remembering to do it. After 2 weeks, he said his back pain in the afternoon had reduced by what he estimated was 60%.
Sit at the front edge of your chair. Let your pelvis tilt forward. Feel your lumbar curve. Stand for 5 minutes every 45. Stretch your hip flexors. This is the intervention that has the strongest evidence base for non-specific chronic low back pain, and it costs nothing. In my clinical experience, patients who correct posterior pelvic tilt and implement the standing break protocol consistently report symptom reduction within 2 to 4 weeks. It is the single most common correction I make that costs the patient nothing and requires no equipment.
3 words: front edge, pelvis forward, lumbar curve present. If you can feel all 3 when you sit down, you are in the correct position. Check it each time you sit for the first 2 weeks. After that, it becomes automatic. 6 weeks after implementing the correction, Tom returned to the clinic. Dr. Chen assessed his posture.
The anterior oblique flex has reduced measurably.
The afternoon pain is essentially gone.
The global increase in non-specific low back pain correlates precisely with the global increase in sedentary desk work. The mechanism is not mysterious. The spine was not designed for position modern orthopedic work.
Subscribe to Vital Years. We post every week. The science of living longer, one evidence-based video at a time. 3 things from this week on Vital Years. Your protein target is almost certainly higher than you think calculated. Your body begins repairing itself within 6 hours of stopping alkaline maybe the single most addressable contributor to your long-term back pain. If you have been meaning to address your protein, your alcohol intake, or your back pain and you have not yet, this week is the week. Not because the information will expire, because every week you wait is a week the process did not start. The biology does not stop while you think about it.
Dr. Chen said that of all the interventions she reckoned, the seated posture correction is the one with the highest compliance rate. Not because as the DSD, she said, because when patient can feel the difference themselves and feeling the difference.
Vital Years. The science of living longer delivered in plain language every week. Subscribe and share it with one person who would benefit from any of the 3 things we covered this week. That is the most useful thing you can do with the next 15 seconds. One more thing the 72-hour alcohol research reveals. The gut microbiome begins recovering within 48 hours of stopping. Alcohol specifically reduces populations of beneficial lactobacillus that have Bacteria with longevity and veterinarian research.
Is moderate alcohol consumption actually harmful if everything else is good?
The current research on all-cause mortality suggests that the lowest risk group when corrected for variables is people who do not drink at all. This isn't a judgment, it's just the data.
The test of any posture correction is whether it holds during actual work, not during an assessment. At 6 weeks, Tom's corrected position was present while he worked, not just when he thought about it. That is when the correction has become a habit and will compound.
The most common thing I hear from patients who correct posterior tilt is that they cannot believe they sat like that for years. They say it is so obvious in retrospect. It is always obvious in retrospect. That is why we need someone to show us. If 3 changes feels like too much, pick 1. The protein calculation takes 5 minutes and you only do it once. The posture correction takes 15 seconds of a stats and alcohol experiment make the biggest difference in your daily life. The others will follow. The research on longevity is not complicated. It is not hidden behind paywalls or medical jargon. It is peer-reviewed, replicable, and sitting in journals that most people never read. Vital Years reads them for you and translates what matters. That is what this channel is for. Subscribe. Calculate your protein range this week. Sit at the front edge of your chair right now. And if you've been curious about what 30 alcohol-free days would do for your body, this week is a good time to find out. See you next week on Vital Years.